welcome back to CCU for another disc spotlight. And today we are spotlighting the Prodigy F3, and I have several. I have an older 400 F3 Barstamp, one that I currently bag, which is a 400 F3 Barstamp, a little bit lighter, just a little bit, a 400G, a relatively flippy run 400 F3, and a very, very flippy run 400 F3 as well. To compare, I'm going to bring it against the 400G H3 V2. Now, if you're following the numbers, the F3 and the H3 should fly basically the same. The H3 V2 and the F3, since they basically are both in the 3 series, they should fly the same or have the same basic shape of flight. The basket off in the distance is 285 feet from where we stand, and I'm going to start out by throwing the relatively flippy 400 F3. It's very chalky. I'm going to throw it on a little bit of a hyzer so that it flips up and flies relatively straight. We do have a little right to left wind, but not a terrible amount. All right, I put it on a little teeny bit of hyzer. It flipped up, it glided right, come back to essentially net neutral. I mean, if I'm in the woods and I'm looking for something to get me 275, 300 feet of distance, that's a fantastic disc. Here is one that's a little bit more stable, a 400 F3. Again, slightly more stable. I'm going to throw it on basically the same hyzer angle towards that basket. Let's just see what happens. That one, you'll notice, flips up to flat, never turns over, skips, and it's 5 feet right of the basket. So again, that's about that 285 foot range, which for me, I'm not really trying to kill these things. I'm not trying to mash on them. I'm controlling them, because these are shots that I would typically throw on a golf course in the woods. I wouldn't want to get out there and do absolute max distance with some fairway drivers. But maxing them out, they will go pretty far. Next on the list, the 400G, and it is 173 grams. This is one that I bag as well. This one I use for my understable fairway driver. So I'm going to throw it on a little bit of hyzer, see if I can get it to pop up, maybe drift right, and then slide back to the basket. This thing has got crazy distance in it. Again, flips up to flat, slides ever so slightly to the right, then comes back down, and it is 20 feet longer than the very first 400 F3 I just threw. So you're probably looking somewhere in the 310-ish range. I didn't really mash on it. I didn't really do anything other than just throw it on a little bit of a hyzer, let it pop up to flat, and it doesn't turn right, it just slides right. The next one is a 400 F3 Barstamp. These are so hard to come by, and if you find them, you better grab them, because they are absolutely money. They are more stable than a typical F3. You'll see I'm going to throw it flat. It may slide right, but it's going to finish with a pretty hard lift. The slide to the right, and I kind of came over on it just a bit, but that one kind of, I probably need to throw it again, but that one slid to the right and never really came back out. Typically, if you give them enough room, enough air, they'll come back out of it. And here's one, a 400 F3, older one I happened to find in the used bin. Again, it's that Barstamp, and if you can find one with that Barstamp, you definitely need to grab it. This one I'm going to throw it flat, pretty much straight at the basket, and let it finish. Just go in, ooh, right in front of the basket. And hopefully what you noticed is that the flippy ones, some kind of turned to the right, but then basically had nothing left to finish. They just kind of fell down to the ground. The 400G slid to the right and then had a little bit of finish. And then the 2 Barstamp ones had a decent amount of finish. But the one I threw poorly typically flies like the second one there. And for comparison, 400G H3 V2, this one, you should get basically the same flight as those stable F3s, not with the big finish, but just kind of turn slightly to the right, maybe you slide to the right, a decent finish, but you should be about 30 to 40 feet longer than a typical F3 because it's a faster disc. So let's see. Same line, flat, right at the basket. I did not throw it great, but I didn't throw it badly. And no lie, it's 25 feet short, 20 feet short of the F3. So that tells me right there, the F3 has way more glide. It's way easier to get up to speed. And for me, like I say, I bag the purple Barstamp F3 as well as the green 400G F3.